Shabbat Shalom umevorach. Welcome, Bruchim Abayim, ladies and gentlemen. This week we'll be reading Acharei Mot Kedoshim. We have a double parasha. And we know there's so many things in this parasha, there's so many different commandments, so many different isurim. The list could go on and on. But in the parasha of Acharei Mot, we know famously, in this parasha specifically, there's many isurim of relationships. The Torah lists all the relationships that are asur. And while it lists all these things, in the parasha it says that the reason why the people in Eretz Yisrael, in the land of Israel, were kicked out was because they were indulged in these relationships that weren't allowed. But then it says again that if you do these relationships and you don't follow the mitzvot and you don't follow the Torah, then you'll be kicked out of the land as well. And a small mashal is that it's like a prince that grew up in the king's home with all the best foods in the world, top quality, everything organic, everything fresh. And then one day he goes outside and he eats something from a restaurant, he eats some fast food, and we know what happens right away. He gets a stomach ache and his stomach can't handle it because he's so used to only good. So to the land of Eretz Yisrael is so holy that it's only meant for Torah and mitzvot, the best of the best. But the second that a nation will sin and do averot, it says, and we've seen it many times, that the land spits out its own people. But the question is, how come it repeats twice? It first says that the people before, all the goyim and all these nations, since they indulged in these isurim and indulged in these relationships, they were kicked out of the land. But then again, a few psukim later, the Torah says that if you don't follow the Torah and if you don't follow the chukim, and you don't follow the mitzvot, and you do these isurim, you're going to be kicked out of the land. Why is there a double lashon? Why is there a repetition? So the Or Chaim HaKadosh brings a mashal to answer this question. He says, there was this person who went to the doctor who had this very big illness. He wasn't feeling well. The doctor said, you have to eat certain foods, and you have to have a strict diet, and there's certain things you can't have. And if you do that, you'll feel better. The person said, what does the guy know? What does the doctor know? I don't diet, let me eat what I want. The guy continues in life. And unfortunately, the food that he was eating really destroyed him and he passed away from his illness and it only got worse. Another person came to the doctor later with the same illness. And the doctor said, this is the diet you need to have. This is what you could eat. This is what you can eat. But the doctor added that if you don't follow this diet, and if you do eat these foods that I'm telling you not to eat, you're going to end up like your friend, you're going to be in the grave and you're going to die. And that person listened and he actually survived. The second message was so much stronger because the second time around, the doctor had a reason and had a proof that if you don't follow this diet, it's going to be a big fail. So the Or Chaim says, so too over here the Torah is telling us that the first time, and the Torah is trying to give us a double lashon to really make us understand what is the Torah telling us here. That's why it says twice that if you don't follow these mitzvot, if you don't follow the Torah, and if you do these averot, and if you take part of these relations, you're going to be kicked out of the land. But the Torah also says, just like all the other goyim and all the other nations were kicked out of the land. So this is really, really important message to us, Rabotai. We have to realize the land of Eretz Yisrael, we can't take it for granted. It's a beautiful place and there's so much Torah, there's so much Kedusha, but we have to realize what do we have. We have to realize that if we don't follow the mitzvot, if we don't follow the Torah, we're going to be kicked out. And that was then, but even now, look at the history. How many times were we kicked out of our homeland? How many times were we kicked out of Eretz Yisrael? It wasn't because we were weak. It wasn't because we didn't have an army. Even now with the army, we still have problems. It was because we weren't following the Torah. We weren't doing the mitzvot. Even now, Rabotai, every time they're going, we don't have Nevi'im that tell us, in the times of the Navi used to tell the Jews that if we sin, we're going to get punished. But today we don't have that. We have to realize, we have to open up our eyes. How come we're being punished? And how come it's so hard to live in the holy land of Eretz Yisrael when it should be so beautiful and so easy? It's because we're not following the Torah correctly. And even for us who are not in Eretz Yisrael, everywhere we are, this is what it says. This is what it says in the Torah. Follow the Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, and you'll have all the brachot in the world. But if we don't follow the Torah, and we have ma'achalim asurim, and we do averot, and we do things that we shouldn't be doing, things that are all in these parashiyot, then we'll be kicked out where we are. We'll be uncomfortable. We'll have suffering. But the Torah gives us the key. The Torah gives us the answer. Stick to the Torah. Stick to being the best Eved and servant HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the Borei Olam that you can. And we'll see the Geula, and we'll be back in Eretz Yisrael like now, but even more with Mashiach and without any enemies, without any problems. Be'ezrat Hashem. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach.